Thank you for being here this afternoon for the 43rd Annual Western Washington University Athletics Hall of Fame induction ceremony. My name is Paul Madison, and it has been my distinct honor and a very incredible privilege to have been at every Viking Hall of Fame gathering. I still get emotional being at these gatherings, and every time I see the big screen rolling with our 145 Hall of Famers, I tend to get a little teary-eyed. It was 50 years ago, we'll make that 50 years, 3 months, and 23 days, when the first induction ceremony was held right here at Carver Gym at halftime of a men's basketball game. January 27, 1968. These 7 inductees, who were standing right over there and are pictured behind me, were Norm Hash, Bill Wright, Norm Dahl, Bob Tisdale, Boyd Staggs, Chuck Erickson, and Dick Carver, who was standing in for his father, Sam Carver, who had passed away 3 years earlier. With the 5 inductees today, the Western Hall of Fame membership has grown to 145. This over a span of 116 years of Viking athletics. All of today's inductees led their respective sports, to postseason success at the national level, and following graduation have gone on to be incredible representatives of our university. Speaking on behalf of Western and the athletics department, we are so proud of you. This day is for you. We are very honored to have with us in attendance this afternoon the president of Western Washington University, Sabah Randhawa, and his wife, Uzma. Thank you so much for being here. How many athletic directors has Western had during its 116-year history, athletic history? Any guesses? A hint. Western has had 14 presidents during that span. The number of ADs, 6. Completing his 5th year as AD and 28th overall at Western, the latest of a rare breed, Steve Card.
Thank you very much. If you'll just indulge me for 1 second here, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge somebody that, that we all know. This individual has probably touched more student athletes in the history of Western athletics than anybody else. And he has given 51 years of service to this institution, and without him, this event isn't what it is, doesn't continue to be what it is. And so I want to take an opportunity, I hope you'll join me in acknowledging and thanking Mr. Paul Madison for all he does. You know, I was thinking about it this morning, and I was going 51 years, and I said, so Paul, when you started at Western, I was 2. So, but, you know, I started thinking, I was going, you know, looking in the mirror, I was going, 51 years isn't that long. And I said, you know, I got about as much hair now as I did then. So you got another 50 in you for sure, I'm positive. So as I was thinking about today, the word that kept coming back to me was special. Why is today special? Well, today is special because we are going to be honoring 5 of our Viking legends by inducting them into our Hall of Fame. Today is also special because for the first time, as Paul mentioned, this is the 50th anniversary of the Hall of Fame induction, and for the first time since that first induction ceremony, we're doing it right here in Carver Gym. Hasn't happened since. We hope it happens for a long time. Paul and I talked about this last year after last year's Hall of Fame ceremony, and with the renovation of Carver, we thought what a perfect opportunity for us to be able to do this ceremony right here in the home of Viking athletics. So we're certainly proud to have you all here, and we hope you had an opportunity to see our new venue. The other thing that's special about today is that part of that renovation is that we actually have a Hall of Fame room now that's located right here in our home. And in there, all 145 Hall of Fame members' plaques are proudly displayed for you to look at after the ceremony if you haven't gone out there, and that includes our 5 inductees today. So I'm going to keep my remarks very brief because we have a long program, but to our honorees, on behalf of our student athletes, our coaches, and our administration, I want to congratulate you into your induction into the Western Washington University Athletic Hall of Fame. So congratulations and enjoy the program.
On a sad note, one of our Hall of Famers passed away last month, former athlete and coach Fred Emerson. Fred was one of the most gifted athletes ever to compete at Western, participating in football and baseball in the late 1950s. He also coached Viking football from 1966 to 1969 and is the only alumnus ever to do that. Please join me in a moment of silence for Fred Emerson. Thank you. Now it always is, you never know how it's going to work out, but I've seen some of the people here. I know some of the Hall of Famers from the past that are here, and I'd like to recognize some of those. If I miss somebody, forgive me. Let me give me a nudge during the ceremony, and I'll make mention. A women's basketball player that scored 1,400 points during her career. She was also assistant coach for 7 years, and we got to nationals during that time. Lori DeCover. From women's track and field, a national champion in the women's javelin, where she won it with a borrowed javelin, and it turned out to be the borrowed javelin of now the person that is our track coach's, Pee Wee Hassel's wife, Maria. Joan Williamson. A 4,000-yard rusher in football, one of only 2, and most schools don't have any. John Bruno. He was the first American ever to climb Mount Everest without the use of bottled oxygen. He's climbed, let's see, Mount Rainier. Why am I? Just a little bit down the road. He's climbed Mount Rainier 176 times. Larry Nielsen. He's also climbed 5 of the top 10 peaks in the whole world. So, incredible accomplishment. Women's soccer coach during the mid '80s, 38-game winning streak. Could have very easily been the first team to win a national title. Unfortunately, got beat in a tough game down at Olympia. Dominic Arjul. I don't know if he's here yet, but he holds every record by a wide receiver. Chris Nickel. If I missed anybody, I apologize. Also of note, we have a Viking football player here that has been playing in the National Football League for the last 6 years, Matt Overton. And now to honor our five inductees, we begin with Ann Cooper.
Ann Cooper, a 6'2" center, was a dominant defensive presence for the Vikings from 1982 to 1986, tying or setting school records for blocked shots in a game, 9 accomplished on 2 occasions, season 114, a 4.1 average, and career, 322, a 2.8 average. Ann was a team co-captain as a junior and senior, and her 4-year career record at Western was 94 wins against just 27 losses for a 77.7 winning percentage. During that stretch, the Vikings had a school record 29-game home court winning streak. Besides being Western's all-time blocked shots leader, Ann finished her career ranked among the school's top 10 in 3 other categories, being 6th in both points with 965 and rebounds with 795, and 10th in assists with 223. As a junior in 1984 and 85, Ann earned National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics District 1 and Kodak All-District Honors, averaging a team-leading 9.3 rebounds on a 23-5 team. As a senior, Ann was again a district all-star on a 25-8 team that won district and by-district titles and reached the quarterfinals at the NAIA National Tournament. That season, she averaged 8.6 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks. A starter for the Vikings during her final 2 seasons, Ann split time at center her first 2 years, competing on a 21-10 team as a freshman in 1982-83 and on a 25-4 squad as a sophomore in 1983-84. After earning honorable mention All-America honors in 1981 as a senior at Stadium High School in Tacoma, Ann chose not to compete her first year at Western. However, she missed the sport and was with the Vikings the next season, much to the delight of head coach Linda Goodrich. Ann is now a Senior Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer for Salmon's Financial Group in Des Moines, Iowa, where her primary focus is on sustaining a healthy, high-performing culture and a values-based work environment. Prior to joining Salmon's Financial Group in 2013, Ann served as Head of Human Resources for a division of ING Voya. During her time at ING, she led human resources teams and partnered with global businesses while living in the United States, the Netherlands, and South Korea. Ann has served on the Western Foundation Board since 2013, currently being in her 2nd term, and the board of the Central Iowa chapter of the American Red Cross. She was a commencement speaker at Western's graduation ceremony in December of 2014. Ann is a member of the American Psychological Association and the Society of Industrial Organizational Psychologists. She completed a bachelor's degree in psychology at Western in 1986 and later received her MS and PhD in industrial organizational psychology from Iowa State University. Married to Richard Barkowski, they have a son, Ricky, who lives in Germany, and a daughter, Vera. Ladies and gentlemen, Western Washington University Athletics Hall of Famer, Ann Cooper.
Ann Cooper's presenter is, I believe, the most iconic figure in the history of Western athletics. She coached Ann during a 19-year career directing the women's basketball program, finishing with 411 victories and 5 trips to nationals. She then was Western's Director of Athletics for 26 years, with 9 teams winning national championships during that stretch. And the Vikings had 5 straight top 15 finishes in the NCAA National All-Sports standings from 2008 to 2013. A Western Hall of Famer, one of 5 Hall of Fames of which she is a member. Ladies and gentlemen, Linda Goodrich.
Thank you. First of all, I've got to put my glasses on. I want to congratulate the 2018 class. I had the distinct honor of coaching 2 of them, Ann and Joni, and the distinct pleasure of watching the other 3 play, Jason, Katja, and Alison. And what a pleasure that was for all 5 of you. Congratulations. When I think of Ann, and I've had time to reflect back, I remember several things about her playing. She was phenomenal as a shot blocker, and her records attest to that. And I think I might have to have Paul do a record check, but she still is a career leader in block shots for women's basketball, but I think she also would lead in men's basketball for a number of block shots. Just an aside. She had tremendous timing and ability, and as you know, to block shots isn't easy. Usually players try it and they get called for fouls, but Ann had the uncanny ability to block shots, and what that did for me as a coach is we played a lot of defenses that funneled players to Ann and thought, Ann, do your thing and block the shots. And talking with Carmen Dolfel, our current women's coach who played with Ann, she said her only job on defense was to help Ann, and that's true. The other thing that was really amazing about Ann as a player, I think, was her passing ability. And although she led and scored a lot of points, got a lot of rebounds, oftentimes when you watch teams play, when the ball goes into the post player, it never comes back out again. It's like going to a black hole. And teams sag on the post player, but Ann had the uncanny ability to find the open player. And her teammates were grateful, trust me, because they got a lot of shots from Ann's ability to pass. And that is attested to her being in the top 10 in assists, which is almost unheard of for a post player. But probably over all of that, her playing aside, was Ann's ability as a leader on our team. And she was a tremendous leader. She was co-captain her last 2 years. And I think she was like having a coach on the floor. She was so intelligent. And I also know that as a captain, Ann would come in and tell me things about the team, things that they were thinking, not always what I wanted to hear, but she told me the truth and was very open, and I appreciated that about her. And I can't think of Ann without thinking of Bernie and Margaret, who are here tonight. Bernie and Margaret, her parents, and Bernie still is wearing that sweater that he wore to every game that we played with Ann's picture on a button. And whenever I think of a super fan, Bernie comes right to the top of the list. And they were there for every game. Even after she quit playing, they came to games. So thank you, Bernie and Margaret, how much I appreciate you, and I know our team did. So, I get this correct. It is now my honor to induct Ann Cooper into the Western Athletics Hall of Fame. We're the first, so we have to.
Yeah, we'll just be on that.
Can I have a hug?
Yes, you can. You're so good.
Thank you, Athletic Director Steve Card. Paul Madison, one of the guys, part of this whole history. And thank you, Linda, for that nice introduction. I'm going to move this up just a little bit more. Need to do that sometimes. I want to thank the Western Washington University Athletics Program for this honor. I'm just thrilled. It's pretty exciting. My years at Western were some of the most formative, definitely educationally, but also created my first leadership experiences and gave me a taste of what it meant to be creating something so successful as part of a team rather than as an individual. As a sophomore at Stadium High School in Tacoma, in 1978, I had not yet played on a basketball team, ever. Maybe a little bit in gym class, but never on a team. I was still growing, really uncoordinated. I was 6'1" at that point. And in my 10th grade geometry class, my teacher, George Quigley, introduced himself to me as the girls' basketball coach and said, because at 6'1", I could look him straight in the eye, that I should be playing basketball. And furthermore, if I wanted to pass geometry, I would be playing basketball. And so I did. So I went out for the team, not knowing the game at all, really overly concerned about what constitutes a foul, because I, didn't want to foul. And I learned through George Quigley how to play basketball. And I started playing on the JV team. He would come out and play against me. Big man, not an athlete, would push me around to try to frustrate me and toughen me up. Sometimes there were tears. He got over it. Yeah. And I really learned from him and appreciated him, and may he rest in peace. So it was a good 3 years, sophomore, junior, senior. I started playing varsity as a sophomore, and by my junior year, I was starting on the varsity team. We were great. I was a co-captain with 2 other seniors. My last year playing, we had a really good run of it. You heard some of the honors I received. It was great, and my folks were my biggest fans. Then it was time to select a university. I wanted to stay in Washington, wanted to go to a state school, and I had gone to Western a few times in the summer for basketball camp, so I was familiar with the campus. I had a couple of sisters who had spent some time at Western, so I really liked Bellingham, and I decided I would go to Bellingham, but I also had decided that I wouldn't play basketball. My high school days were a lot of stress. I wanted to focus on being a college student and work on first and foremost on my education. And when I decided not to play basketball, it was much to my father's dismay, but he said, okay, I'll still pay your tuition. He and my mom were definitely supportive of good education. And as a freshman, I grew another inch, so I became 6'2" when I was 18. And I also realized how much I missed the sport. I missed the competitive nature of the sport, but I also really missed being part of a team and the success that I had experienced in high school. So I decided, okay, I'm going to try out. And so fall of 1982, up in Gym D, I walked on to tryouts and just introduced myself to Linda. She's like, who are you and where did you come from? And I reminded her that I had met her at some of those summer camps in the past, but I wanted to play. So as it turned out, I guess it was a good tryout. I made the team, and I became part of Western Washington women's basketball, which, as most of you sitting in this room know, is a true legacy program. My basketball journey began, and what a great team, right? You heard some of the stats we racked up under Linda's good coaching. So what a great team, what a great coach, and what a great legacy of success and strength. And boy, was my dad happy. Bernie Cooper was thrilled, and my mom, Margaret Cooper, she was happy as well, still my biggest fans and ready to get back at it. I had the honor and privilege to play with some of the greats, some of the people that are in the Hall of Fame. And Lori DeCover was a great one to have on the team. She helped my assist. She was the shooter that I was passing to. Not only was Linda a fabulous coach, she was a mentor to me, modeling what it means to be a strong, influential female leader, surrounded by a lot of guys. Yeah. Lessons I took into my graduate program, into my career, and really as life lessons. And not only did Western Washington University provide me with an excellent education, preparing me very well for my graduate studies, it offered me a differentiating life experience. To be part of a world-class basketball program, to work with world-class people. So thanks to Linda, thanks to Carmen. Where are you, Carmen? Oh, hi. Carmen Dolfo, current coach and fabulous team member. Paul, part of the staff, always great. He could stand up to my dad with those fact-checking stats. It's good. And Lori. Finally, you know, I also see this as a differentiating life experience because it set me up for leadership roles and gave me leadership stories that I continue to tell, and really has been impactful, far more than I ever expected. And I'm so thankful that I decided to walk on that fall of 1982. Although Jim D, you know, now it's kind of special up there, so I don't think too many people get to go up to Jim D. We soon took over Jim B, ruled it. It was our house. So finally, I'd like to thank my family members. To my parents, Bernie and Margaret Cooper, who supported my education first and foremost, and were my biggest fans and my most vocal fans. Linda could maybe tell you a story of a ref running up into the bleachers to point her finger in my dad's face during a game and threatening to have a team technical because Bernie was a little vocal. He was just helping her get more accurate with her calls. Yeah. Most vocal fan for sure. There were seasons where my dad didn't miss a game. He was a road warrior. He'd drive to Montana. He'd drive to California. He was always there with his sweater, with his voice, supporting our program, supporting all of us. And as you heard Linda say, continues to support the women's basketball program. You know, I also thank my parents and the rest of my family for allowing me to kind of keep my glory days alive. We had a bit of a wall of fame at our house. And as my sister teases me that I'm the only child, it's, you know, and I just tease her, you know, she should have played a sport. However, it's been a great supporting family to have. So my sister Marion, my sister Ellen, my sister Jean, they're here. My brother Guy, also a Western alum, couldn't be here today, but is here in spirit. Here always rooting us on, Linda. He played rugby while he was here. And I definitely want to thank my niece and grandniece, who I think might be walking the halls right now, Laurel and Marin. And finally, I want to thank my husband, Rick. So while he didn't get to see me play, he's heard a lot of the stories and allows me to kind of revel in some of those glory days as well. And then finally, my thanks to my best achievement to date, and that's Vera Lynn, my daughter, our daughter. Thanks, family, and thanks to everyone, and go Vikings.
Congratulations, Ann. I thought of a couple more that I should have introduced earlier that I had forgotten as far as Hall of Famers. One was a assistant football coach, but he was a lot more than that. He probably has gone to more weddings than any other coach in the history of Western. Terry Todd. And a person who was the best tennis player that we've ever had for the men, and he's gone on to be one of the best coaches, high school coaches in the state, Steve Chronister. Okay, our next inductee, Alison Haukaas.
Three years after Alison Haukaas joined the Western softball team as a walk-on freshman in 1995, she pitched a complete game victory for the Vikings in the title contest of the NAIA National Tournament. It was the first national championship for any team in school history. Western, which posted a 33-13 record, had received the 7th and final at-large berth in the tourney in what turned out to be a Cinderella finish. As a junior on that squad, Alison had a 9-2 record with a 1.39 earned run average. She was an NAIA Pacific Northwest Sectional and Pacific West Athletic Conference All-Star, as well as being named College Sports Information Directors of America District 8 All-Academic. Western's title, which came in just the 6th year of the program, culminated with a 5-1 win over Simon Fraser. The Vikings had to come from behind in the first 4 of their 5 national tournament victories. Alison, a member of Western's all-century softball team, set 16 school records during her 4-year career, finishing with 44 wins and 58 complete games. As a freshman, Alison helped Western to the Pacific Northwest Athletic Conference regular season and tournament titles, and 2nd place at the NAIA Pacific Northwest Regional. She was the PNWAC Pitcher of the Year, Pacific Northwest All-Sectional, and NAIA National Pitcher of the Week, having a 13-11 record, 1.47 ERA, 8 shutouts, 2 no-hitters, and 127 strikeouts in 162 1/3 innings. Alison also was a first-team All-PNWAC and Sectional All-Star as a sophomore with a 2.56 ERA, and a first-team Pac-West Conference All-Star and Academic All-Star as a senior. A graduate of Washougal High School, Alison now lives in Poulsbo, where she is in her 16th year as a technical project manager at the Naval Undersea Warfare Center, located in Keyport, Washington. She spent most of her 3 years at that job in Newport, Rhode Island. Alison received a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Western in 1999 and a master's degree in 2001. She obtained a Master's of Science in Systems Engineering degree from the Naval Postgraduate School in 2005. Alison and her husband, Scott Richards, have 2 children, daughter Hannah and son Zachary. Ladies and gentlemen, Western Washington University Athletics Hall of Famer, Alison Haukaas Richards.
How many people do we have from the 1998 national champion softball team? Right up here. This is for you guys. Got it? Inside. Ed Eliason will clue you in on what I just did. Alison's presenter was originally going to be her head coach at Western, Art Finney. But because of a commitment he could not break, no matter how badly he feels, and I know he does, but a promise is a promise, and that is certainly true when it comes to Art Finney. So, kind of like at Nationals in 1998, his role is being taken by one of his top assistants during his time here. And just to get a feel of Coach Finney being here, we have him on the video from when Kathy Johnson was inducted. Please welcome Ed Eliason, who coached 8 years for the Vikings. Ed.
Congratulations to all the inductees. This is a special time. Every so often you see an athlete who you know will set records, break records, and single-handedly affect competition. We've had some of those athletes in WWU softball. Players previously inducted into the Hall of Fame like Katja Johnson and Jen Brandolini. Today we honor Alison Haukaas. I am heartbroken not to be present today to share in the acknowledgement, honor Alison so richly deserves. Something I will forever regret. I say with sincerity and conviction, if not for Alison Haukaas, we would likely not have won a national championship her junior year, and who knows when, if ever, that championship would have come. A walk-on pitcher from Washougal, a small town in southwest Washington, changed the trajectory of the entire softball program, and quite possibly the notoriety earned for the athletic department and university, bringing home the first team national championship. If I could only claim that Alison Haukaas coming to Western was a great recruiting move. But Alison came on her own, and an opportunity existed for her because of an untimely injury to a blue-chip recruit. She demonstrated immediately that she had what coaches often refer to as a live arm. Alison wouldn't expect me to say she stepped onto campus as a complete pitcher with sound mechanics. I told Alison upon making the fall roster she would need to learn new mechanics and develop as a pitcher. I've never seen anyone work as hard or develop as quickly as Alison Haukaas. The rate of speed at which she heard, understood, and applied what she was taught was remarkable and unprecedented. In 5 months, Alison went from walk-on status to recruit stature. Earlier in her freshman season, Allie was named NAIA Pitcher of the Week. The following week, we hosted the University of Oregon for a doubleheader. And in game one, Alison was probably getting hit harder than she had yet that season. I went to the mound for a visit, and I got there. Allie was smiling at me. And I said, "So Allie, what's going on?" Allie looked at me and said, "Well, Coach, I'm stinking up the joint." I had to keep my composure and refrain from laughing. I smiled back and said, "I'm thinking we should probably help you out a little bit this time." I stretched my hand out, and she ever so nicely handed me the ball, began walking out of the circle towards the dugout. Then, just as she stepped outside the circle, she turned and said, "But I'll be ready next game." When I got back to the dugout, assistant coach Dick Green leaned over and said to me, he said, "I saw her smiling. What'd she say?" And I replied, "She said she's stinking up the joint." And Dick said, "Oh my." And I said, "And then?" She said, "She'd probably be ready to pitch the next game." And Dick replied, "Oh Lord." Allie was also known for a specific mannerism when she pitched, and it was demonstrated here. After every pitch, she would walk to the front of the pitching circle, get the return throw from the catcher, and then ball in glove, walk around their base side of the circle to the back of the circle, tap her left leg with the ball in the glove 3 times, close her eyes, talk to herself, reach down and take a handful of chalk. Step up, take the sign, and ready to pitch. One last story. Unfortunately, Allie did experience some problems with her shoulder her junior year, and she couldn't throw overhand to bases. Knowing opponents would catch on, we incorporated into practices Allie fielding the ball, turning and pitching the ball to every base. Our nemesis, Simon Frazier, was the first to catch on. Their coach commanded his hitters to push bunts right to Allie. The first runner to reach first base, they did exactly that. They bunted the ball, Allie charged it, turned, and threw a 75-foot pitch to second base, getting the lead runner out. Allie's prowess as a pitcher was an inescapable fact, and for more than just a talent aspect. She was our stalwart of mental toughness, tenacity, resolute, armed with perseverance and moxie. Armed with a batter beware scowl, she was not someone to be trifled with if you were a competitor. And yet, off the field, she was the nicest person, best teammate, and I'm sure probably the best friend anybody could have. To become a champion, a team needs mental toughness and the tenacity. Communicates to your opponent, you better give your best because you're surely going to get mine and you aren't going to like it. Every team needs perseverance, moxie, even the scowl. And every team needs a heart and soul. Alison Haukaas, thank you for being ours. And now it's my honor to introduce Western Washington University Softball's newest Hall of Fame inductee, Alison Haukaas.
I'll tell you what, if we can do this really fast, can we get the 1998 people that are here, down here very quickly for a quick picture? You got to get moving.
Thank you. At least a quick side note, it's a good thing that Western had a softball program, Wazoo did not. As my family are all Wazoo alums, that was one of the striking factors that allowed me to come to Western as my own choice instead of going over to Wazoo. Thank you very much for this today. I've come a long way since that young pitcher in the Marshall gym every Sunday. Back then, getting through an hour of pitching usually involved some sort of an injury. Not to me, but to a dedicated father, as I threw yet another wild pitch in their direction. And finishing that hour-long practice required some form of bribery from Dad to get me through, usually a package of cookies on the way out from the gym when we were done with practice. Through all the hit batters, walks, and wild pitches, Mom and Dad and my family was always there, encouraging me at games and practices, and celebrating each win and strikeout. As I continued pitching through high school and dreamed of playing college softball, I never could have predicted that the pitcher I would become. I remember Art calling me at home the summer after graduation to discuss playing softball at Western. At that point, he had already had a full pitching staff and suggested that I look at playing for Wenatchee Valley Community College. Luckily, Western's campus, their academic programs, and location led me to take the risk to walk onto the team. By that point, fate had taken control, and I earned a walk-on spot on the team. I joined a number of familiar faces from the Vancouver area, and who knew that the pitcher I feared in high school would eventually become my Western teammate and catcher. To say I developed a lot during that first year is probably an understatement. Thanks to an amazingly talented coaching staff, hours and hours of practice, and hard work, I grew from a decent high school pitcher to a successful college pitcher with a confident attitude that can easily be summed up in the Sandy Koufax quote, that pitching is the art of instilling fear. In my junior year, I did develop an overuse injury in my shoulder, which prevented me from throwing overhand. I remember borrowing Coach Ed's glove, his left-handed glove, so that I could participate in the practice and warm-up drills. I was cleared to throw underhand, so situational plays, as mentioned before, were all set up so that I could pitch the ball to first for an out, or third baseman would take over so that I didn't have to throw it all. That off-season had been long, and I got really good at fundamentals. I was only cleared to throw underhand from a half circle, so that's all that I did during our pitching practice and training. When I was finally cleared to throw a full pitch, life got a little bit better. No more overhand, but at least I could throw a full underhand pitch. Having a teammate with an injury definitely impacted your team dynamics. Seriously, how do you fill 2 hours of warm-ups before every single game? If only all of that practice time could apply to my innings pitched. If so, I would have a record that would never be broken. Through all the excitement of graduating after 4 years at Western, I'm going to guess that more than a few of your underclassmen cheers were more in celebration of finally reducing warm-ups to a normal 1 hour versus just the year that we were graduating. In May of 1998, all of our efforts, dedication, and amazing coaching led us to the NAIA National Tournament at Broken Arrow Softball Complex in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In fact, 20 years ago today is when we started our first tournament game run against Southern California College, winning 6-5. That game was followed by wins against William Woods, and then followed by the 4-time reigning champions, Oklahoma City, where we beat 4-3. Simon Fraser 5-2, and then finally the championship game against Simon Fraser, winning 5-1. That tournament success not only resulted in the championship, Paul, you'd be proud of me, but Western Washington also holds the NAIA record for the highest World Series winning percentage with a perfect 100%. Throughout my career at Western, I was taught the technical fundamentals of pitching needed to become successful on the mound. But I was also taught an in-depth understanding of the game that allowed me to be a successful pitching and softball coach today. I take pride in the fact that I'm able to pass on a passion for the game that I love to the next generation of softball players and share with them the fundamentals and mental toughness that I learned at Western. The more I grow as a coach, the more I appreciate the coaching staff of Art, Ed, Dick, and Ian and what they brought to our team, and realize how special those 4 years were. Although many of us have gone our separate ways since college, and we may not stay in touch quite as often as we'd like, those women are my softball family. Thank you to everyone who is able to be here today, and I know those unable to be here are here in spirit. Thank you to my friends and family able to make the trip up, and thank you so much for this overall honor. I'm privileged to join fellow softball players Kathy Johnson-Evans and Jennifer Brandolini Register, and all of the fellow Western athletes in the Hall of Fame. Thanks.
Congratulations, Alison. Our next inductee, Joni Slagle.
This is the third Hall of Fame for Joni Slagle, who was earlier named to the Kitsap County Sports Hall of Fame in 2007 and the Olympic College Sports Hall of Fame in 2016. Joni, a 5'10" forward, averaged 20.1 points per game and 11.3 rebounds during the 1976-77 season at Western, both team best figures in leading the Vikings to the Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women National Tournament. That followed first place finishes at the Northwest College Women's Sports Association AIAW Region 9 Tournament and the Northern Southern Area Tournament. Western met Boise State in the regional final, upsetting the Broncos 76-68 at Boise, Idaho for its 13th straight win as Joni had a team-high 20 points. The victory came just 6 weeks after a 32-point loss, 62-30, to Boise State at Carver Gym, where the Vikings had been virtually infallible. Joni, who earned all-star honors at both the district and regional tourneys, scored 543 points, a 20.1 average, and made 222 field goals that season. Those figures were school records, and the scoring average remains among the top 3 in the illustrious history of the program. She scored 20 or more points 15 times during that campaign, twice having a season and career high 31, one short of the school record at the time. Linda Goodrich, then in her 6th season as head women's basketball coach at Western, called Joni one of the best all-around forwards in the country. Joni, who averaged 17 points in the previous season for the Vikings, transferred to Western from Olympic Community College. As a sophomore for the Rangers, she averaged 25 points and 20 rebounds a game. On January 29, 1975, Joni scored a school record 47 points in a 78-38 win over Centralia College. Joni averaged 23 points as a senior at North Mason High School, where girls athletics did not exist until her junior year. Joni also competed in volleyball and tennis at Olympic College while earning her Associate of Arts degree in 1975. Following her playing career at Western, Joni was a Viking assistant coach for one season while completing her bachelor's degree in physical education. The Minnesota Phillies of the short-lived Women's Professional Basketball League had drafted Joni in 1978, but she passed on the opportunity. Joni taught and coached at Blaine High School for 1 year and spent 3 years in the Bellingham School District as a K-12 PE specialist. She then took a job at the Lake Padden Golf Course in Bellingham, completed a PGA course in Florida, and became an assistant pro at Lake Padden. During that time, she coached girls basketball at Meridian High School and took a 1-year leave in 1983 to play basketball for the Brisbane Bullets of the National Basketball League in Australia. Joni also played AAU basketball for top-ranked Belco Electric out of Seattle for several years, teaming with other top players in the state. In 1990, Joni went to work for BP Arco, retired in 2014, and now manages our cargo safety company. Ladies and gentlemen, Western Washington University Athletics Hall of Famer, Joni Slagle.
Joni's presenter was an outstanding player in her own right at Western. In fact, the school record of 9 block shots in a game that Ann Cooper tied was set by Carey in January of 1975. Please welcome a teammate of Joni's at Western who averaged 10 rebounds a game during her 4-year career, Carey Worley Von Moos.
Well, let me start by saying congratulations to all of this afternoon's inductees. What a tremendous accomplishment to all of you. I'm so honored to have the opportunity to talk about my former teammate and coach, Joni Slagle. Joni and I came to Western the same year. She, an experienced community college player, myself, a wide-eyed freshman. Joni brought to Western incredible basketball skills, great leadership, an excellent work ethic, and complete dedication to Viking basketball. Joni walked onto the court with a great smile and the determination that it takes to succeed, and the rest of us were expected to do the same. I learned quickly from Joni that she was going to give 110%, and I better do as well. That she demonstrated each time she walked onto the court. Joni could do it all. Shoot, drive to the hoop, rebound, and she really knew how to block out. When you play with a great offensive player, you learn really quickly that when they get the ball in their hands, you better start working for position for the rebound. Joni was a different story. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I should have been looking for the pass back to me. No way. They wouldn't let me shoot. She did such a great job of following her shot that if she did miss, most of the time I was fighting her for the rebound. Joni led our team to Minnesota and the opportunity to play in the AIAW National Tournament. What an experience, being one of 16 teams in the country to advance to nationals. 1977 was a long time ago, and I wish I could remember some more stories, or at least stories that I could tell. But I do remember one very memorable trip to Alaska. The scenery from the plane windows was beautiful, and we didn't get to get on a plane very often. So, as it was a pretty long flight, to pass the hours, Joni brought a magazine of rather questionable content, and we giggled all the way to Anchorage. As our coach, Joni brought us all of her expertise and experience. Linda and Joni were a great coaching team that I really enjoyed playing for. Joni shared her motivational strategies, game management, and magnificent basketball skills. Yes, Joni did it all, and she's very deserving of this induction. I'm proud to say that I had the opportunity to play with her and learn from her. Congratulations, Joni. It has been wonderful to see you again after all these years. And now it is my honor to induct Joni Slagle into the Western Athletics Hall of Fame.
Okay. Carrie, thank you for your kind words and your effort to make it up here and make this a really special day for me. And I agree, it's awesome to see you after all these years. I'm really honored to be part of this year's induction. I really want to congratulate Ann, Jason, Alison, and Katja. It's evident the role that Western Athletics has played in your lives, and I really enjoyed meeting you guys. I think we all owe Paul a second hand of applause here for his work in putting this together and his many years of dedication to Western Athletics. I mean, he's literally an icon here. But really, I'm up here because of a whole lot of other people. First and foremost, I have to thank God for my health and abilities and for the many, many blessings in my life. Second, my family. My mom and dad couldn't be here. My dad has passed away, but my mom is having some health issues. And if you're watching, Mom, thanks for running me around the house with the wooden spoon. My sister Jill and Dan and Amanda and Shay, thank you for coming up this weekend and making it just a blast. They came up and decorated my house and brought champagne, and they wanted every neighbor that drove by to see that something was going on. So I really appreciate your efforts to be here and share this with me. My coaches. I was really fortunate to play here at Western for a Hall of Fame coach in Linda Goodrich. I think we all that played for her just had confidence knowing that if we could do what she was teaching us to do and execute what she did, we would be successful. And we were. Western was known to be like the program, and I'm really proud to have played here. And I have to thank my teammates. They were a bunch of tough, gritty players and motivated that came, most of them didn't have programs in high school. And we came with a lot of raw talent that Linda put together and formed into a team that was pretty awesome. If it wasn't for their contributions, I wouldn't be here. And I share this award, your name should be on this with me. We played in an era where most of us were just getting started, right? Title IX had just gone through. I grew up in a small town on Hood Canal where there weren't really many organized activities for girls. In fact, there was nothing to turn out for, and I was actually a cheerleader my sophomore year. Not cheerleader material here. We won't go into that. We spent a lot of time playing outside. We water skied, we played tennis, badminton, any yard game you could make up. If we needed to get somewhere, we rode our bikes. And I started my basketball playing when my dad put a hoop up on our big maple tree in the backyard. And Carrie talking about the offensive rebounds. The basketball hoop was on a maple tree that had a big root on the bottom, so if you didn't follow it and get it before it hit the root, it would end up in the wood pile. So I think it was part of my natural thing when I shot was to follow the shot. I wish my dad was here today because I think he would have really appreciated this.
I have some great memories of when I played here. There have been so many changes in the last 40 years. My first year here, we were Western Washington State College. We played in Converse, canvas, high-top, basketball shoes. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. I think half the team had shin splints at various times. We played with a slightly larger ball. There was no three-point line yet. And Western had not split off into Division II yet, so we had the opportunity to play in some really great venues against University of Washington, Washington State, Oregon State. A couple of my favorite memories, one of them was when we beat the University of Washington on their home court in Heck Ed. I had a lot of family members and schoolmates there. The other was the Boise State game, and we got creamed here by them. And they had previously beaten us by 30 points, and I think they figured they would easily walk away with the game and go to the national tournament when we played them on their home court. Linda had made some changes to the lineup. We put in a new offense, and we ended up beating them and going to the national tournament, so that's one of the highlights for me. My time here at Western will be one that I always treasure, and I really thank you all for being here today. It's been a really fun weekend for me.
Are we ready? Good. That's good news. Thank you, Joni. Congratulations. There's one thing I remember about Joni Slagle was her hometown newspaper, The Weekly. It was a name that I'll never forget, adding it to my mailing list, the Huckleberry Herald. True. Okay, our next inductee, Jason Stiles.
A four-year starter at quarterback for the Vikings from 1992 to 1995, Jason Stiles was a first-team choice to Western's All-Century Football Team selected in 1999. Western posted a 30-9 record with Jason directing the offense, and he finished as a school's career leader in yards passing with 7,854 and touchdown passes with 67. An honorable mention NAIA All-American as a senior in 1995, Jason led Western to its first undefeated regular season since 1938, the school's first #1 ranking in the final national poll, first place in the Columbia Football Association Mount Rainier League, and the opening round of the NAIA Division II National Playoffs, finishing 9-1. The Vikings broke or tied 43 school records that season, including most wins, and scored 50 points in each of 3 games, tying a school record. Western ranked 5th nationally in scoring offense, averaging 37 points, 7th in passing offense at 277.7, and 8th in total offense at 453.9. Jason, who passed for 2,297 yards and 17 touchdowns, and completed 61% of his attempts, was a first-team All-CFA pick and NAIA National Player of the Week. As a freshman in 1992, Jason helped the Vikings to their first national playoff appearance in program history. That season, a Stiles pass that resulted in an incredible catch by wide receiver Chris Moore won national acclaim and was voted ESPN College Play of the Year at the first ESPY Awards show. Jason ranked 9th nationally in passing as a sophomore. Western began that season 6-1, the school's best start since 1958. As a junior in 1994, Jason passed for 1,964 yards in directing the 8-3 Vikings to the national quarterfinals. They began the playoffs with an opening round win at nationally #1 ranked Linfield. Stiles graduated from Western in 1996 with a bachelor's degree in communication studies. He had a 3-year professional football career, playing in Germany in 1996 for the Wolfsburg Blue Wings, while also being the offensive coordinator, and being a part-time starter for 2 seasons in the Arena Football League for the Portland Forest Dragons. In his first start for Portland, Jason threw 5 touchdown passes against Anaheim and later competed against 2-time Super Bowl MVP quarterback Kurt Warner. Jason has been a color commentator in football and basketball at Root Sports Northwest since 2006. He has covered college football, arena football, and high school football. Stiles also spent 9 years handling color commentary for Western Football Radio broadcasts. Jason was the Athlete of the Year in 1990-91 at Decatur High School located in Federal Way, competing in football, basketball, and baseball for the Gators. He led the state in passing in 1990, totaling 3,200 yards and 22 touchdowns as a junior and senior. Stiles also earned all-league honors twice and was team captain for 2 years. Jason, who is employed as a regional sales manager for a medical device company, resides in Snoqualmie, Washington with his wife Andrea, daughter Jordan, and son Colt. Ladies and gentlemen, Western Washington University Athletics Hall of Famer, Jason Stiles.
Now, if they got things squared away, we have video of that ESPN Player of the Year, I hope.
Congratulations to you. You know, the catch nobody thought could get any better did last night, winning ESPN's first annual ESPY Award for college football's Play of the Year. This was the catch you first saw on our Play of the Night by Western Washington's Chris Moore. Last night, Chris made another unbelievable catch, grabbing a major award on national television.
This year, the winner of the ESPY goes to Chris Moore's great catch. Good.
Was that incredible or what? And we have Chris Moore actually is here today with us, and it only took us about 30 years to get ESPN to get us the trophy. So. But we got it. We worked hard. It's been interesting because I've heard different takes on this catch. Like Chris thinks, hey, it bounced off a defender and I made an incredible catch out of it. And then some people are saying, hey, it was a perfectly thrown ball and you just made it into made it dramatic. But and maybe we'll hear more about that. I don't know. But for now, Jason's presenter, also a member of the Western Athletic Hall of Fame, was the head coach during Stiles' time with the Vikings. In all, Rob Smith coached Viking football for 17 years, finishing with 6 league titles and 4 postseason appearances, reaching the NAIA National Division II National Championship game in 1996 after upsetting #1 Findlay of Ohio in the semifinals. Rob then coached 10 seasons at Humboldt State, completing his collegiate coaching career with 180 wins in 27 years, an average of nearly 7 per season. Please welcome Western Hall of Famer Rob Smith.
Thank you very much. I've seen that clip, many times, and Chris always gets the credit for the, circus catch, and Jason today got credit, for putting a throw where Chris could make the circus catch. How come the guy that called the play never gets any credit for that? All right? This is a real honor for Wendy and me to be here and to be back. It's great to see so many football alumni. I too was going to ask them to stand, but your presence here today means a great deal to, I know, Jason. It certainly means a great deal to me. I think it shows that Western football's legacy continues here at Western Washington. I think that's so important. And your passion for Western continues as well. So I encourage you to keep that going. As I said, a real honor to be back for this particular reason, congratulations to all the inductees and their families today. It is very, very special. It's great for Wendy and I to be back and see so many friends and relive so many memories. I was telling someone, you know, it seems like a lifetime ago, and then as you start talking with the players and everything, it seems like yesterday. But to be back for this reason, to recognize Jason on his long overdue honor, I think, of being inducted into the Western Hall of Fame. I know how important and how much meaning there is going into this award for you today. And I think the wait has been more than worth it, because you got Colt right there, you got Jordan here, and I think they're at a point in their life now where they really can appreciate some of the things their dad, and now the stories that you've told them, maybe, you know, they'll start to believe some of that. But we recruited Jason prior to the 1991 season, so I need to take you back a bit. We took over the program here in 1989 and inherited a talented senior class that year that allowed us to go 7-2 on the field. It was the best record that Western football had in a 38-year period. And then those seniors graduated, and reality set in the next year, 1990, as we go 3-6. We knew going in, once we graduated these seniors, that it was so important that we establish a foundation for our program. And by that, we had to go out and recruit the best possible incoming class, okay, entering prior to the 1991 season. And to do that, you have to have a quarterback. We had graduated the quarterback in 1989. So there were two quarterbacks that year in the state that were very talented. There was this kid at Decatur High School, okay, who was probably 18 going on 13, yet to, you know, be introduced to a razor. All right, you look at that picture in the program, the hair's kind of off, I see a lot of you and your son, by the way. But Jason had a great career at Decatur High School, and so he was one quarterback. The other quarterback was a kid at Lincoln High School down in Tacoma, a kid by the name of John Kitna. And he too obviously was a very talented quarterback. And so we recruited both, had a decision to make along the way, and made the decision that we're going to recruit Jason as a quarterback, and we were going to recruit John Kitna as a receiver. Some may question the logic in that decision, okay, now, but I will tell you I never have. We got the quarterback we wanted. Maybe more importantly, we got the quarterback that we needed to lead our football program from where it was, a program that, you know, we go 7-2 in 89, thought we were a playoff team, but got no playoff opportunity. And the reason for that was simply Western football on a national level was a complete unknown. And we needed a group of players that could come in and, you know, from the ground up, put Western football on the national map. And with Jason as our quarterback, we were able to do that. You know, I've been asked to give a lot of talks, and I never write anything down. When I do so, I just like to talk, and so I spent all this time writing this stuff down and I haven't looked at it once. All right, so it's fun to be able to relive, you know, that time and what we were able to accomplish, led to, you know, by the quarterback that we wanted in Jason Stiles. As a redshirt freshman in 1992, we have a record of 7-2, I think it was, and go to the national playoffs for the first time in school history. And again, we did so with a very young football team that had the right guy leading that team in Jason. We lost in the first round of the playoffs, but I really think it positioned us moving forward to really establish and accomplish some special things. And we were able to do that. In 1994, we advanced to the national quarterfinals, okay? Lose down at Tacoma at Sparks Field, which was always a difficult place for us to play. And then in 1995, we have just one of those special seasons. We go 9-0, an undefeated regular season, only the second undefeated regular season in Western's history here. and unfortunately lose the first round of the playoffs. We were the #1 seed, the #1 ranked team in the nation. Okay, so go back to entering 91 where we were recruiting this class, okay, coming off the 89 season where we had a good season but didn't get any type of recognition whatsoever when it came to playoffs, all right, and the goal being let's find that quarterback that can lead that group, that can take this program from where it was in 92, a national unknown, to where Jason left it in 1995, where we spent the final 5 weeks of the regular season ranked #1 in the country. Had the best team in the country. I still believe that to this day. All right, but we dropped a playoff game here, and obviously that's a defeat that you and I both still live with a lot. But defeats will go away, and it's the memories, it's the friendships, it's the experiences that you enjoyed collectively together that really sustain. And as I said, Jason, I think the film mentioned, he was 30-9 as a starting quarterback here at Western Washington. 30-9. He put Western, he and others, again, and Jason will be the first one to tell you this. You have to have, these guys that are here in support of you today played such a big role in the, evolution of our program, from where it was to where you left it in 1995. Again, undefeated regular season. You just can't do any better than that. And then you move on, and to see the success that you have enjoyed over the time, and the legacy that you left here certainly was a thrill to be a part of. It really was. As a coach, I think the most important thing, Linda, you'll agree with this, is what your players do after those years that you had them. They're with you for 4, maybe 5 years at the most, type of thing. And for me, certainly, coaching the sport I coached, the greatest thrill you get is seeing those players as they leave your program go on to be successful fathers, husbands, all right, and just successful in life, and to see what Jason has done, and more importantly, the way he has done it, it doesn't get any better than that. I know your parents, Roger and Candy, talking to your dad last night, did not miss a game. And now their schedule's so booked with grandkids and their competitions and events and so forth, it doesn't get any better than that. Your wife, Andrea, to be here and to be able to celebrate with you, and then certainly to your daughter, Jordan, your son, Colt. Guys, your dad was and is very, very special. He left a great legacy here. And the successes we were able to enjoy once that group graduated was clearly, they were the reason why. You guys were the reason why that we got this thing and had some great times along the way, didn't we? All right? So Jason, congratulations. And now to make sure I follow Paul's instructions here, it is, where'd that page go? I lost that page, Paul. All right, here we go. I want to get the words right. No, I'm going to get the words right for you now. Am I under 3 minutes? Because you said that too. So, it is my absolute pleasure and honor to present Jason Stiles into the Western Washington University Hall of Fame. You've waited a long time. Yeah.
Still recording? You still recording, Colt? All right, but make sure you get this. Well, the 5 minutes, that's what Paul gave us, and in the spirit of the new betting rule, I'm going to go ahead and bet the over here. I want to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. I want to thank Steve Card, Paul Madison, You can tell you don't like attention because we've given it to you a couple of times now, but you've done so much for so many people over the years in giving them appropriate attention based upon their athletic accomplishments, and I really want to thank you a lot, so thank you very much. It's been a great weekend, and President Rondawa, I want to thank you for putting together a weekend where all the alumni can come back on campus, and again, I've told you in Uzma before, but welcome to Bellingham. It's an honor to have you here. And also to Ann, Allison, Joni, and Katja. It's just been awesome to get to know you and your families a little bit, and an honor to share this weekend with you guys. So next to my dad, my grandpa, Coach Smith was one of the most influential people in my life, and very few professions, I think, really have the impact on children, on kids, on college kids, even professional athletes than a coach. And in my mind, they're always going to be deserving of that title, coach. So for me, it'll never be Eric, it's going to be Coach Tripp or Tripper. It's never going to be Robin, it's going to be Coach Ross, and it damn sure is not going to be Rob. You're always going to be Coach, and thank you for being a part of this day for me. Coach was a perfect mixture of intimidating and intimidating. He took over as the head coach in his early 30s, and he had a vision. Having played under Don James, he was disciplined, he was organized, and he was a fullback, which means he was very hard-headed. That was, see, these guys, they're afraid to laugh, Coach. After a few coaching changes, he'd been my head coach, he'd been my position coach, he'd been the offensive coordinator, so he and I spent a lot of time together. He was very firm, he was very fair. He worked endless hours with the staff to make sure we were as prepared as any team on the field in the country. And other than KP, he held everybody accountable in practice so that they'd be ready to put their best effort on the field on Saturday. You know I'm right, P. One of his best qualities was his ability to speak to the team. They looked forward to his speeches, whether it be pregame, halftime, postgame. Most of the time they were good. If you listen to our records, we had a lot of success under him. But one of his best speeches came every year to the incoming freshman class or the transfers, where we all sat in a room, and he said, guys, look around the room. In this room are your best friends. You may not know them now, but before it's all said and done, they will be in your weddings. A long time down the line, you'll probably be at each other's funerals. You're going to have kids together, they're going to play together, they're going to be the best friends of your life. And every year he was absolutely right on with this. The memories on the field are incredible, but at some point the games and your time on the field are over, and it's those relationships that carry on. For me personally, I was lucky enough to have 3 of those guys that Coach Smith talked about in that room that day in my wedding. I was involved in their big days as well. I also have 2 godchildren. One of them is with his family down in Auburn, watching his oldest brother, Tim Mallow, play in the state baseball tournament. They won today, so he's playing again this afternoon. And the other, Kayla Palmore, is here today, and I want to recognize her. Kayla, where are you at? Hi, sweetheart. A lot of these friends that I've made are here today, and thank you for being here. It took me back when I saw how many of you guys came here to honor me. I also have my best friend here today, Justin Mentink. I appreciate you being here, and you know, you're a pretty smart guy, but the smartest thing you ever did was marry a Western chick, so nice job. I want to recognize my family as well. My brother-in-law Eric and his family are here with his wife Charlene, and my beautiful nieces Libby and Ava. Thank you for being here. I did this yesterday and it was a lot easier. My mom and dad have been just an unbelievable support system for my brother and I from the very first time we picked up the ball. My mom's the eternal optimist. She got that from her dad, my grandpa, and so regardless of what happened in life, everything was going to be okay. Bad game, bad day at school, and I was fortunate to get that glass half full mentality, and I really, really appreciate that. And Mom, I love you. Thank you so much. My dad, the commitment and loyalty, the work ethic that he taught me and my brother is unbelievable, and probably one of the most important decisions I made was because some advice that he gave. I would not be up here without it. And it was my freshman year. I was living in high school. I was living in Southern California, and I was competing at quarterback position with a really talented kid, and I was kind of done. I didn't want to play. I was going to quit. And he said, you know, if you want to quit, that's fine. But if you're quitting because of the competition, you're going to have competition everywhere you go, every turn, every slot in life, and you can't run away with that. So if that's why you're quitting, then I suggest you rethink it. Very thankful I did. Best advice ever. Thank you, Dad. There's always something very special about knowing I could look up in the crowd every single game I played, and either my mom or my dad or both of them were up there. And that's whether it was right here in Bellingham or all the way down in southern Oregon, a long car ride over to Spokane. They're always there, and that really meant a lot. My brother Justin is here as well, and he and I are 4.5 years apart, and I think for a little while we didn't spend a whole lot of time together, but as I got into college, we saw each other more. Now I like to think that was because of me, but it may very well have been because of my roommates who gave him liberties that I didn't necessarily. So I'll just keep believing it was me. And my nephew Oliver is here too. I love you, bud. Thank you so much for coming all the way out. Okay. Andrea, thank you for putting up for my football fanaticism. We have a sign on our house that says, is there anything you'd like to say because football season is about to start? For the last 20 years in the fall, I've been gone for part of or all of every weekend. And Andrea has known me for about all of that time, and she's put up with it. I'm very, very thankful. One of my regrets is that she never got to see me play, because I had so much fun playing the game. But thanks to Paul, I was able to get all of my game tape. And so when we go home this weekend, we're going to start with the 1992 season. Okay, thank you. I love you. I'm so thankful that you're my wife, and I'm excited to celebrate 14 years together on Tuesday. I love you. Jordan and Colton, the biggest blessing in my life, without question, is the two of you. Jordan, I love listening to you sing upstairs even though you don't know anybody's listening. I love your passion and your determination for the things that you believe in, and I love the fun-loving girl that you are. Colton, I love that you're such a happy kid. I love that you put energy into everything you do, whether it's school, sports, meeting new friends like your buddy Zach, or doing the Harlem Shake with me in the morning when we're trying to wake up, right? I'm so happy that you guys could be a part of this thing, Jordan and Colton, and this Hall of Fame thing is really cool, but more important to me is that I try and be a Hall of Fame dad for you guys. I don't always get it right, but I try really hard, and I can't wait to see all the fantastic things you two do, and I've got your back the whole way. I think I was a good football player, but I took a lot of pride in being a great teammate, and I'm so thankful for these guys up here today to come and seeing this event. There isn't a guy that I played with that I don't truly look forward to seeing when over the 5 years that I played, when I see him, or if our paths cross, there's hugs, how you doing, always want to know what's happening. And lots of my teammates, if not all of them, came to Western because of football. It wasn't the education program, it wasn't business, it wasn't my communication major, it wasn't chemistry, it was football. And because of football, we had an incredible opportunity to go to this great university and get degrees in those aforementioned colleges. Now I've got friends that are presidents of companies, owners of companies, educators, coaches, law enforcement, military, just to name a few. And it's because of this great university. And I do say very humbly that this is a fantastic university, but it's better with football. And I hope at some point in the future there's an opportunity for that discussion. And to the president, to Steve, and to everybody here at this university, this is a fantastic place, but I will be the very first person in line to help that start. So a lot of athletes now you see are flipping over the end zone, hurdling guys. Typically Hall of Fame athletes are truly athletes. The best thing ever said about me athletically came from Coach Smith in the preseason of my senior year. We're running 40s, and I actually got off a good one. I got a 4.88, felt pretty good about it. And he said, you know, Stiles, I just realized you're not slow, you just have heavy feet. Wasn't sure how to take that. I wasn't graceful. I sprained my ankle going down the stairs in my dorm, trying to turn back because I forgot something and I rolled an ankle, and I think that actually might have saved my red shirt because Coach was growing less and less patient with the two seniors we had. Again, we played a game against UPS, and the other guy had to suit up because of my unfortunate mistake. I had a missed block against Lewis and Clark, and I've only played quarterback. That's the only, so we didn't work a whole lot on blocking. If you've ever seen our practices, and John Brunaugh was a sweep to the right and didn't work, so he cut back around to the left, and I see everybody running at me, and had a few thoughts in my head. Said, okay, I've seen these guys cut block before, and cut block is you're supposed to dive at their thighs and roll into them so that they fall down. And so I saw three guys, and I was trying to figure out which guy to cut, and if they were right where the camera guy is and right where I am now, I decided a good time to go for their legs would be right now. And I laid flat on my back. They all jumped over me, and I think John got a 2-yard loss. So, John, I apologize for that. Football's allowed me to do a lot of things, a lot of firsts. First team in the national playoff, first undefeated regular season, part of an ESPY award, the first broadcast Emmy award a few years ago during my time at Root Sports. And I was also the first quarterback ever to finish with negative rushing yards. Thank you. Appreciate it. I have a lot of memories of being on the field with football. I remember the time coming up, making my decision to come to Western. I remember driving up on that recruiting trip. I remember running into a guy named John Garber. We all wanted to play in big stadiums. And there's not one of these guys here didn't think we could have played at a bigger school. But we came here and we really made Western bigger than what it was when we started. And John Garber, a guy that transferred in from BYU, a big 6'3", 300-pound guy that was just impressive in every way. And he said, you know, it really doesn't matter. I played in front of 60,000 people. It hurts just as bad to lose and it feels just as good to win, regardless of who's out there. And we took that attitude. And I remember the feeling, I can to this day, of putting on my shoulder pads. I remember the smell of Civic Stadium, the locker room, which wasn't all that good, but I remember it still. I remember the smell of the grass. I remember getting off the bus and seeing family and fans and the hog pen. Beeson, you look great in a kilt. I don't care what anybody says to you. I remember the details of specific plays, the good and the bad. My very first start was at Western Oregon. It was 85 degrees, super hot out. And the first two plays didn't go so well, so Coach Smith decided he'd call a 135X comeback, which ended up with me halfway deep in my own end zone and Jimmy Gray running a 15-yard comeback route. And I threw that ball as hard as I've ever thrown a ball in my life. I'm an 18-year-old kid scared to death, these grown men coming after me, and I completed that pass. It was not a pretty pass, but I remember every single minute of that. I remember my first start at home was a torrential downpour when we walked into the locker room here. And we went out to Civic, the blue skies. The sun always shines on the Vikes, right? I had a wheel route to Eric Meek up the sideline, kind of got my confidence going. At one point, they pinned us down deep, and I remember the headline in the newspaper the next day said, 1st and 99 to go, no problem. We called a little fade route, and a beautiful catch by Jeff Starr, laid out with those blonde locks. It was an unbelievable day. I remember the bad playoff losses at POU and against Central Washington. I remember the good. I remember the 693 Y-up, hot route to Eric Meek. He always wanted the tight end to stay in, coach, because that means he got it. I remember the bus back from Southern Oregon. The heater wouldn't turn off. So you got about 60 guys in their underwear in a bus. And the little top latch on the bus, it opens up. Finally, it started working again, so we started getting a little cold as we're going down the freeway. And so Eric, all 5'9", 160 pounds, and thought he'd just get up at 60 miles an hour on the bus and pull this latch from the roof of the bus. And, well, the wind of the momentum of this 60 miles an hour has caught it, and Eric Meek shot back through that hole as fast as anything I've ever seen and landed on the floor of the... Nobody really checked to see if he was all right, but I think he made it. I remember, a lot of teams are sponsored by a school or by a apparel, and we were sponsored by Nike for a few years, the Nike Blems. You guys remember those? Blem stands for blemished. That means that there's a stitch out, or there is something going wrong. We got those shoes. They're up on the shelf somewhere, somehow, and they got shipped to Western Washington. So these white cleats, some of them were in a tinge of yellow that'd been in the box for so long, but we sported them. But it's those memories, it's that process that means so much. I also remember what leadership was like. We were 2-2 my redshirt freshman year in Linton Hyde. and Shane Volkin were the captains, and they had been through the 3-6 season before, and they said, listen, we've got a choice to make, guys. We can do what we did last year, or we can make something happen out of this. And there are two guys that we're all going to follow. They stepped up big, and we rattled off the next 7 straight and made it to the first national playoff appearance in school history. So guys like Linton Hyde really set the stage. After Western, I had a privilege to play in Germany, and my best buddy on the team, KP, was able to come with me. Allowed me to live and travel and play over there. Great memories from our first game. We won it 36-35 after our team had lost to that same team a year before, 56-0. I'll never forget the locker room that day. Our German players are so proud. KP and I walked in, our teammates smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. I'm not done yet. That was before the game. I'm not kidding. KP also had a story where we had a membership to a athletic facility, a really nice one, and they had saunas, and we learned very quickly that clothing was optional, and then we thought it was optional, and then it wasn't optional. And I was up in the working out one day, and KP came out from the sauna a little bit quicker than usual, and we didn't read German, but we understood it very well, especially KP that day when he was told that in the sauna it was Women's Day. I know, I tell it every year, KP, it still makes me laugh. Then I got a chance to play in the Arena Football League. The first practice was at the Vancouver School for the Deaf and Blind. It was not a glamorous, it was first year of the franchise. I played in Madison Square Garden twice. I opened up a new arena in Nashville, played against Kurt Warner a few times. But my first start in Anaheim. If you didn't know, the Arena Football League there, the offensive players and defensive players played both ways except for the quarterback and a receiver. So we had a lot of these really good pass rushers that were just swinging gate pass blockers. And so I dropped back to pass and landed in the first row with popcorn and beer all over me. And I said, I made it. But the most significant part of that night was Greg Malo. It was on my birthday, and he flew down to see that game. And a friend of mine, when I went to high school in California, she also came up to see that game, and they met that night. And now they're married, and their second son, Max, is my godson. So that was pretty cool. Then I got a call coming back from one of those seasons. Wasn't sure what I was going to do next, and I got a call from Paul Madison. And I was a broadcast major, and he said, we'd like you to do color commentary for our football games. And all this anxiety about what I was going to do next was answered. That was my new career. I was going to be a broadcast guy. And then I found out I was going to get paid $50 a game. So I had to change that up. But for the next 9 years, I got a chance to work with a guy named Doug Lang. And if you've ever listened to a Western broadcast on the radio, either football or basketball and other sports at the time, Doug Lang took the coverage of our sports to another level. And he made it big. He put a pregame and a postgame, halftime and interviews, and I got to go along for the ride. And he's an unbelievable catalyst for me in my broadcast career, and a guy that I think at some point should belong in that Hall of Fame room with the first broadcaster ever inducted. He also was responsible for my career at Root Sports. So I've been on TV now with Root as a college football analyst for 12 years, and it happened because he made a call to a guy named Brian Davis, who at the time was working for, it was Fox Sports Northwest. He used to be the voice of the Seahawks, and Doug would have him on their radio show. He and Mark at the Zone for 20 plus years. They'd have him on the radio show on a regular basis and said, listen, we got a guy I think could be really good. He played arena football, and if the Seahawks you have covering aren't available, he is. And one game became two game became three. I had a Pac-12 game, and next thing you know, I'm their lead color analyst. So wherever you are, Doug, you know you played a big role, and I appreciate you very much, so thank you. If you know the guys I played with, it makes a lot of sense while I'm up here. I want to just talk a little bit about my quarterbacks. Fellow quarterbacks Matt Sayer and Brian Howard are the first guys. They're the seniors that Coach Smith spoke of. Christian Evans and I came in together as quarterbacks, and Christian moved to tight end not because I was better, but because they needed an athlete at tight end, and I wasn't it. Matt Ness, Paul Blanusa, the guy that they brought in, Sven Wicker, the Alaskan Air Express. I don't know if you remember that guy. Big arm, came in out of nowhere. Ryan Goen, Kurt Kaser, they're all part of our QB room. But the best years are with two guys, Sam Hansen from Manson, and Darren Erath. terrific teammates and guys that I'm really appreciative of. Sam had the biggest arm I've ever seen. And Darren Erath was the guy that was sandwiched between Damon Hewitt and Brock Hewitt at Puyallup High School, took them to a state championship, or at least a state title game. And a really dynamic guy that sometimes I think people wanted to see him on the field more than me, and I might have been one of them. He was a heck of a player. And after that, he picked up the torch right where I left off and took him Western to the national championship game in 1996. Like I said, when you understand who I was surrounded by on offense, it's a lot easier to understand how I made it to this point, but the guys on defense were incredible. They were the #1 defense in the nation statistically in all sorts of categories during my time, from the Linton Hydes to Billy Christensen's and Spoons and Paul Selly digging in the trenches, and so many guys that made our offense so much better. Then you go on the offense, you got your wide receivers, and these guys are like the bullpen pitchers or the relief pitchers out in the bullpen, right? They're a little bit different, they're a little bit goofy. They're always goofing around, but it was game time. They were the best in the business. Eric Meek and Seymour, they were the Beavis and Butthead, if you guys remember back then. They're always making each other laugh. Every once in a while we would laugh too, but they kept the room loose. Jeff Starr, Chris Nickel, KP, one of my best friends. We had Mario Casello, Ryan McGowan. These guys really made my job so much easier. You know, there's a lot of linemen to name, and I didn't have a chance to get one of my centers here. They were trying, but they couldn't make it. But I do want to call out Matt Cross, Johansson, Coombs, and you know, Beast, one of my regrets is you and I never played on the same field at the same time. But you know, my 18-year-old hands in your derriere would have fit very well. So. You know, the running backs, Steve Brummel, who now works at the university, Pat Banning, they were part of that first game that I started. Mike Wagner, who had an unfortunate injury. Ryan Wiggins, Frazier, Stacy Avila, James Bible. Every once in a while I was asked to host a guy on a recruiting trip, and then in walks this quiet guy from Vancouver, Washington. This is the best recruiting job to date. He didn't say anything. I didn't know if he was coming, but that guy was John Bruna. And everything I was able to do through the air, and these guys are receivers, was in large part due to the attention the defense has paid to him. So, John, I owe you a huge gratitude. And I also am going to lean on you a lot here this summer. John and I are playing in a team match play tournament in golf, so we're going to win it. In closing, I just want to talk a little bit more about how much this means to me. I watched a video in January of Jim Thome, who, if you guys don't know, is a Major League Baseball player, that he made it to the Hall of Fame. Like, the genuine emotion from he and his family in getting that call. Somebody laugh at the comparison I'm making. I did not hit over 600 home runs in the majors. I didn't play anywhere near that level professionally. But what immediately struck me was how much this honor meant to he and his family, and how much that game enriched his life. Hey, Merkovich, I just saw you over there, bud. Thank you for being a part of it. He's one of the big guys that kept me clean. I was often my jersey was as clean as it was coming out of the game as it was going in because of guys like you. But the game of football has been part of my life since I was 10. It's provided me opportunities on and off the field of play beyond anything I can imagine. And my time at Western was the foundation of that experience. And it's really odd to accept an award like this when football is the epitome of a team game, because in any given play, even look back at that play, all 11 guys have to be doing it right in order for it to work. So I accept this award on behalf of all you guys and everybody that I played with. But Bellingham is my Cooperstown. Western is my Major League Baseball. And I'm eternally grateful that from now on, my name, my passion for playing here, and the football stories that my teammates and I created will be etched in the history of this university today and forever. Thank you very much.
Katja, your time is coming. First, some thank yous. And this is This has been an incredible team effort for this to come across today. Without these people, this event doesn't happen. And start out with Steve Card, our Director of Athletics, Associate AD Courtney Stringer, Associate AD Steve Brummel, people helping him up above, John Altenhofen and Jamie Davis, our Director of Athletics Media Relations, Jeff Evans, who's incredible, Director of Marketing, Nicole Ebersol, Video Services Manager, Robert Clark, our Administrative Assistant, Kay Davis, our Athletic Equipment Coordinator, Kevin Fenwick, from the Western Communications Office, we have Derek Bryson, Chris Powell, who did our voiceovers, ATUS, Gary Malik, and the list goes on. And then to all our coaches and our student athletes here today, thank you so much. You are the best. Also, just one more little thing to let you know about. After the ceremony, there are gatherings taking place for all the inductees. The women's basketball gathering is going to be at the B-Town Raw Bar and Kitchen, where the patio has been reserved. Women's golf and softball is at the Stone's Throw Brewery, and football is at the Boundary Bay. Now, our final inductee, Katja Trygg.
Katja Trygg holds or shares Western records in women's golf for best season scoring average, lowest scoring round, tournament medalist performances, and top finish at nationals. During her senior season of 2005 to 2006, Katja was a first-team National Golf Coaches Association All-American for the second straight year and Western's Female Athlete of the Year. She helped the Vikings to the best campaign in program history, which included a third consecutive fifth-place finish at Nationals. Katja lowered her scoring average by nearly 10 strokes during her four-year career at Western. As a sophomore, Katja placed 16th in medalist play at the NCAA Division II National Championships. The Vikings, making the program's first appearance at Nationals since joining the NCAA in 1998, finished 5th in the team standings. That season, Katja's game took a big jump when she claimed medalist honors at the Western Invitational by shooting rounds of 73, 76, and 78 for a 54-hole total of 227. Her play helped the Vikings to a 34-stroke victory, which propelled them to second place at the NCAA 2 West Regional 2 weeks later. In all, Katja posted 12 rounds under 80 during that campaign, with 7 coming in her last 10 rounds, the last 3 while competing for the first time at Nationals. As a junior, Katja was a medalist in 4 tournaments, helping the Vikings tie for first at regionals and placed 5th at the NCAA championships. She finished 15th individually at Nationals, leading the Vikings with a season scoring average of 77.0, carding 21 of 27 rounds under 80. As a senior in 2005 to 2006, Katja averaged a school record 75.4 strokes, which ranked 5th nationally, and recorded a career and school best 3 under par 69 in the final round at the Grand Canyon Invitational. As a team, Western shot 287 in that round, also a school best. Katja placed 5th at Nationals, the Vikings' previous best finish being 10th. She shot 74 in the final round for a 54-hole total of 230. That year, besides doing well in the postseason, Western was victorious in 7 of 8 regular season tournaments. Katja did not start playing golf seriously until the 8th grade. She played for Bainbridge High School, placing 9th individually at the Class 3A state tournament as a junior on a team that finished 6th. Katja completed her bachelor's degree in physical education, fitness, and health promotion at Western in June of 2006. She then worked at Wing Point Golf and Country Club on Bainbridge Island for 2 years, enrolling in a PGA program for teaching professionals. Katja returned to Western for her master's degree, and while going to school was the women's golf assistant for 2 seasons from the fall of 2007 to March of 2009. In October of 2013, Katja married Chris Parrish, who was a standout cyclist at Western. They now live in Bend, Oregon. Ladies and gentlemen, Western Washington University Athletics Hall of Famer, Katja Trygg Parrish.
Katja's presenter was her head coach at Western during her senior season. He just completed his 13th year directing that program, having led the Vikings to 8 national appearances and 4 league titles. Please welcome Bo Steffen.
Crank this thing up here. All right. I didn't have any intention of mentioning this, but having heard the story of Ann and Allison and their walk-on way of getting to prominence in their schools, I wanted to mention the same thing about Katja. It wasn't mentioned by Paul, so I wanted to make sure. I've been coaching for 13 years. And the story is that Katja walked into Dean Russell, then Coach Dean Russell's office, and basically asked for a spot on the team. Dean granted it. The rest is history. So for the last 13 years, I've been waiting for someone to walk into my office every single year and turn into a 2-time All-American. But it hasn't happened, so hopefully next fall. Like Paul mentioned, I'm the head women's coach here at Western. My first season was Katja's senior season, that 2005-2006 year. And I was lucky to inherit a great group of girls that year, one of them being Katja. Several of the others have made the trip up here today. But more importantly, was super excited knowing that Katja, coming off an All-American season the year before, was coming back and I'd have her for her senior year. Paul rattled off a lot of stats, tournament wins, All-American team honors, etc. But I want to talk a little more about Katja the competitor and Katja the person. First, Katja the person. So despite knowing that she was one of the best players in the nation, Katja was rarely my #1 qualifier when we were trying to pick teams for travel squads. I would often get a little bit worried because I felt like she was maybe struggling with her game, struggling with her swing. But what I quickly realized with Katja was that she has this unique ability to flip the switch when it came time to play in a tournament. She might not have had that ability in qualifying, but I knew when it mattered, and when the tournament was big, she would come to play and she'd play really good. Still to this day, it's a very short list of people who I would rather have hit an important putt or an important shot for me. So I'm going to give you a vague statement here, vague statement of the day, I know that, I'll try to explain myself, but if I have to describe Katja's game, I can only say she's just good at golf. And I know that's really weird, but I'll try to explain that. So I've known a lot of people that when you watch them hit driving range balls, when you watch them warm up for rounds, every shot is perfect. Looks good, sounds good, you think they're going to shoot 65 every time they go out and play. Katja wasn't necessarily like that. She didn't have the best swing in the world, but she hit it better than anybody that I know. She didn't have the best putting stroke, but she made every important putt that she looked at. I compare her all the time when people ask me to compare people to men's team people, but I look at our latest men's inductee, Tim Feenstra, in the same regard. Just knew how to get the ball in the hole and usually got it in the hole in less strokes than everybody else in that particular tournament. So, Katja the person. Katja was a leader by example. She was extremely respected by her teammates, both for her playing ability and for her demeanor on and off the golf course. She could joke around with the best of them, which I quickly learned on all the van rides, but when it came time to be serious, she had an infectious amount of focus and determination. Like Paul mentioned, she was a member of a team that won 7 tournaments her senior year. She was the medalist 3 times, and that's a testament to her hard work as a player and her leadership abilities. Since the completion of her final year of eligibility on the golf course, Katja, you've been a number of things to me. She was my assistant coach for 2 years. She was a part-time nanny to our daughter Ryan when she was a little baby. She still to this day remembers both Ryan and Izzy every year on their birthdays, and she's definitely become a lifelong friend. To me, and to anybody that follows me, she will always be the standard that every Western women's golf team member will be measured against. And it is my extreme honor to present to you this wonderful addition to the Western Washington University Hall of Fame, Katja Trygg.
Okay, thank you, Bo, for that wonderful introduction, and congratulations to all my fellow nominees. Back when I was researching colleges, I applied to Western without any thought of actually coming here. I went to a very competitive high school, and going to a small college far away from home was the thing to do. Thankfully, it took me just one visit to Western to realize that this was the place for me. I immediately felt at home, and boy, did that decision work out for the best. I came away from my 4 years with infinitely improved self-confidence, incredible friendships, and a well-rounded education. I couldn't have imagined a better college experience. During my playing days, I was often asked what the key was to my success on the golf course, and I could never really come up with a good answer. In hindsight, I think I just felt so lucky to be helping fund my education by competing in a sport that I loved, that I truly savored every moment of practice and competition. Of course, I still got frustrated from time to time, but maintaining that perspective helped me return to a positive mindset quickly. As an introvert, the golf course was always a comfortable place for me. Add in a group of highly motivated teammates and a consistent practice routine, and I was able to flourish. It is impossible to achieve great things without a lot of help along the way, and there are many people to thank. First of all, I need to thank Dean Russell for taking a chance on a quiet, unproven freshman. I'm forever grateful for the opportunity. Thank you to my teammates, Milena, Shannon, Kelly, Sarah, Kate, Emily, Candace, Katie, Allison, Kathy, Jen, Ashley, Nancy, and Tori. Thank you for your mentorship, your inspiration, and your friendship. Thank you for challenging me on a daily basis, teaching me to love country music, warning me when the ketchup was too spicy, saving me from the WTA in the years before Vanna White, and attempting to monitor my candy intake. Together, we laughed, we cried, we survived tornadoes and the infamous Azalea Inn. We made epic final round comebacks, and we rewrote the record books. Every victory was a true team effort, and I am so grateful to have been a part of that. I wish we could go back and relive the glory days, but the memories will last a lifetime. Thank you to Bo for giving us a fresh start and leading us through a season that we will never forget. Thank you to the men's team for inspiring us with your equally impressive accomplishments. Thank you to the many friends and family members who followed us all over the country to some very strange destinations to watch us play. Having you there to support us still means so much. Thank you to the athletic department for keeping everything running smoothly behind the scenes. Linda, Steve Card, Paul, Butch, Sunday, Steve Brummel, and many others I'm surely forgetting. Thank you to the membership and staff at Bellingham Golf and Country Club for allowing us to use your impeccable facility. I will never love another golf course as much as BGCC. Thank you to my dad for teaching me the game, building me my trusty Snake Eyes driver, which is in the picture that was on the invitation, and being okay with me eventually beating him. Thank you to my mom for her unconditional encouragement and letting us tear up the lawn with our short game practice sessions. Thank you to my sisters for enduring endless hours of watching golf, both on TV and in person. Thank you to my husband, Chris. You never got to see me compete, but you always encouraged me to get back out on the golf course. I can't wait to bring our son or daughter to visit this place that means so much to the both of us. And finally, thank you to everyone who made this event possible, and to all of you for being here to celebrate. I'm honored to be a part of Western history. Go Vikings! Thank you.
Congratulations, Katja. Could we please have all 5 inductees return to the stage with their plaques, please? Oh, where yours is right there. I'm not worried about a picture. Yeah. One more time. Please salute the Western Washington Athletics Hall of Fame class of 2018, Ann Cooper, Alison Haukaas Richards, Joni Slagle, Jason Stiles, and Katja Trygg Parrish. Thank you all so much for joining us today.